Hi folks, Nella here with Benjy. Um, so I've tried to record this a few times, but it keeps getting really long, and I'm trying to not do so many super long videos. Anyway, so very recently I discovered something new about Benjy's character that I did not know, and that is that I was completely that I thought his sexual orientation was something very different than it actually is. Let me explain. So, one of the things that happens with my characters is I generally don't know what sexual orientation or gender identity or any of that stuff, if that's right for them, until I start writing a bit more of their interactions with people, and with others. So I was going on the assumption that because the only romantic interest I'd written for Benjy was the one that he, well, here, I don't think you can quite see on this, but there you go. Those wonderful X's by Benjy's ear. He actually cut off his own ear and sent it to a girl. As a token of his affection. She flipped out. She didn't take it that way. She didn't take it as the I'm always here, to listen to your problems sort of way. She took it as a holy crap, someone wants to murder me sort of way. Luckily, Benjy was able to retrieve his ear and reattach it, but he does still have marks from that. So because that was the only relationship I'd ever been having, really. I know he's a bit of a romantic, but he's just hasn't had any real relationships. So because of that, I was like, oh, well, he's heterosexual. That's fine. Most of my characters are different sexual orientations other than heterosexual. Maybe this will even things out more. And I went on thinking that for, well, I guess let's see if I'm for about you. For about you, I thought that. Until, oh gosh, only a few days ago. When I was writing a scene, well actually, the time he almost gets enlisted in the British Army because he was drinking and didn't check the mug, to see if anyone had slipped the king's shilling in it, and someone had, but she only realized after he'd pretty much drunk all of it, and then, oh, there's a coin. What does a coin mean? Oh, crap. So to make a long story short, he literally runs out of the bar, still holding the mug, summons a door to the curiosity shop, runs inside, pretty much collapses, because he's drunk, and he's completely on adrenaline at this point. So he collapses. Miss Celeste picks him up, actually does pretty much a fireman's carry, drapes him over her shoulders, walks down the hall where the statues are, and the living statues, that is. And I was in the middle of writing how Simone and Peter, and Whis, the nightlight, are reacting to it, when suddenly this bit came to me that, Benjy, still very drunk, turns his head, still with the mug in his hand, and just kind of pulls it up a little bit, not much, just kind of pulls it up like this, and yells. No sense of indoor voice when he's drunk. Just yells at the bust named Untitled. He goes, "Look, Sebastian! Guess who almost got enlisted?" And that bit was so shocking for me because Untitled is Untitled. He doesn't have a name. So I was like, so what? Why is Benjy calling him Sebastian? And then I realized something. It's not calling him Sebastian. It's Sebastien. Benjy is French. Benjy is actually short for Benjamin. Now, the thing is, though, because of the weirdness of the Curiosity Shop, and also, I think, partially the weirdness of the time he's from, he responds to both the French and English names, and also, because of the weirdness of the Curiosity Shop, they're kind of... You can speak in one language, and even if other people around you don't know that language, they'll still understand what you're saying, because the meaning of your words is translated, not the precise words that you're saying. There's still other errors in communication, but just lessened a bit. But anyway, and then I went, okay, well, who is Sebastian? Because I knew that, yes, that I just had this feeling. I went like, yes, that's what he calls Untitled, which is a bust, who's called Untitled because that's literally the only thing that's written on him. He's a head with, I don't even know if he has hair, but he's a head, on the very top part of a torso. He's assumed to be male because there's no evidence of breast on it, but he's actually kind of really not the nicest character now that I think of it. But anyway, like, I knew that I was like, Untitled is Untitled. Why would I write Benjy calling him something? And that goes back to what I said earlier, that I was assuming that because I'd only written Benjy having a thing for a girl and cutting off his ear as a declaration of love, smooth move, that I thought he was heterosexual. He's not. He's either bi or pan, though right now I'm leaning towards bi for him. And Sebastien, the reason why he calls Untitled Sebastien is because Untitled looks uncannily like a man Benjy used to know, who he had a massive crush on. Massive. I mean, we are talking love letters and epic poetry, novel-length poetry even. Well, not novel-length, but even like novella-length poetry and flowery language, and he would do anything for this man except actually tell him how he feels. Because, you see, Sebastien, the Sebastien that Benjy knew, was also a revolutionary, like Benjy, but he was a bit more dedicated to the cause than Benjy was, and basically, in Benjy's eyes, he didn't want to confess his feelings because there was the risk that they wouldn't be reciprocated, which he kind of felt like he could deal with. He dealt with it before with the lady, but he didn't know if Sebastien, the revolutionary, would react so poorly as to not want anything to do with him, and Benjy wouldn't be able to live with himself in that case. It would really mess him up. So he just didn't say anything. And then the revolution came, and they fought, and the revolutionaries lost. And they lost badly. There was a lot of casualties, there was a lot of injuries, almost everyone got arrested or killed, and Benjy was one of the few that made it out, and Sebastien did not. Benjy actually saw Sebastian be killed. So when Benjy gets drunk enough, he sometimes forgets what time it is, like in time-space. And because Untitled has such an uncanny resemblance to Sebastian, Benjy just starts calling him Sebastian. English pronunciation, because he does try to distinguish between the two, even though they look really, really similar, and they act a little bit similarly, but not, like, it's not an uncanny, like, resemblance personality-wise, it's mostly physical. Yeah. So, Benjy's bi. Who'da thunk it? I should actually say something else about Untitled, aka Sebastian. Not Sebastian, but Sebastian. And that is that he is really hard to be friends with. He's very jealous and envious of the living statues who can actually move around, which, by the way, is everyone except for him. Because everyone else except for him has some sort of limbs that they can move, but he is just a head on part of a torso. Not even a full torso, just part of a torso. So he can be really mean, and really likes to mess with people. And the only person that he never, ever messes with is Benjy. Because Sebastian won't say it, but he has a huge crush on Benjy. Because Benjy is the only person that treats Sebastian like a person, really. Not just like a head on a pedestal. Benjy seems to actually forget. Well, not really forget the situation that Untitled is in, so much as it really doesn't bother him. Benjy will actually, whether he's drunk or not, take a stool and sit down in front of Untitled and just talk. Just talk for hours. It isn't so much that Benjy is talking at Sebastian, because Sebastian will actually converse with him. And that's kind of one of the only interactions Sebastian has with people, is with Benjy. Is his semi-daily talks with Benjy. Whether Benjy is sober or not. And most of the time it's not. Let's be honest here. Yeah, so I'm having some fun writing their interactions just because Sebastian is such a prickly character, but he is just like, he's like a hedgehog. He's really prickly to everyone on the outside, and then he exposes this soft inner part of himself to Benjy. And it's kind of sweet in a way. But also kind of really weird because Sebastian is a head. He's just a head on a pedestal. Yeah. Anyway, the reason he's called Sebastian or the reason I named him Sebastian, is because when I was trying to write the story out, I was listening to some music, and the song I was listening to was Croque des Coups by Les Trois Accords. It's the Québécois band. Anyway, and it's a hilarious song about someone essentially chastising Sebastien Gringard for dressing up like a vampire and hiding in the neighbor's refrigerator to scare them. And it's just as bizarre as it sounds. It's just a funny song. But anyway, the name Sebastien Gringard stuck with me. So when Benjy yelled out, "Hey Sebastien, look, I almost got enlisted." When that happened, I immediately knew. I went, "Yep, that's the name. It's gotta be the name." So yeah, I apologize. It still ended up long, but believe it or not, this is actually shorter than it was before. So yeah. Oh, one last thing. Benjy actually does still have the glass that he almost got enlisted because of. And that glass is this glass. And as you can see, there's actually a clear bottom, so if Benjy had realized, he could have actually looked and seen that there was a coin at the bottom, and then he could have just run and not have grabbed this at all. Instead, he ran over both, holding this, being chased by a sergeant in uniform, and then being carried in a fireman carry by his boss as he's still holding onto his glass that is completely empty but still had the coin inside because then she drank all the beer. Yeah. So, yeah, that's it. Bye, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the weird little story I just told. Bye.